Hey everybody, coming at you with another video today, and today I'm going to show you one of my favorite ways to cook a steak. It's called the reverse sear, and it does a fantastic job of just cooking a steak perfectly through from edge to edge. Now, like everybody, I used to cook my steaks out on a charcoal grill, and that's a great way to cook a steak. Especially over coals, it really does add a lot of flavor or bring out the flavor in the steak. But the problem is it's really hard to control the heat, and you don't get an even cook all the way through, and certainly not from edge to edge. Now, when you go to a restaurant, a nice steak restaurant like a Ruth's Chris or something like that, what they do is they do a standard sear, and what that means is they get a skillet or a pan really hot, and they sear the steak on each side before they cook it, and that helps to seal in the flavor and the juices and stuff. And then they put it into an oven and let it cook the rest of the way. The reverse sear is a very similar sort of way of cooking a steak, except for you reverse the order. And so you put it in the oven, you cook it in the oven first, and then you sear the steak. Now, to cook it with the reverse sear, the things that you really need is a nice cookie sheet with some foil and stuff to limit the mess and minimize the mess. If you have like a cookie sheet or something like that, that really helps it get a better cook all the way through. Obviously your steaks, then a digital thermometer, something like this one right here, where you can leave the probe in the oven. Your seasoning, today we're going to use just a Montreal steak seasoning from McCormick's. And then a cast iron skillet or pan. We're using a Dutch oven. This is what we use when we typically go camping. We like to use this because I can get both steaks in there, and the high walls actually limit the splatter and the mess that gets distributed. So the first step then to doing the reverse sear is to preheat your oven to about 275. So that's the temperature you're gonna actually cook it at, and that's going to be a nice low temperature to give you a better control over the cooking of the steak. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to season these things up. I've already got the oven preheating. So let's get the McCormick's on there. Now I like to get a good coating. On both sides. Flip it over. And this method typically works best when you've got a good thick steak. We're using New York cuts. Whether you like ribeyes or fillets or whatever, it's your choice. But you want definitely a nice thick steak. Okay, with the steak seasoned, we're gonna go ahead and put our thermal probe in. We want it right about the center of the steak, both in the middle of the steak from edge to edge and also from top to bottom. And then we're going to set up our thermal probe for 125. We like our steaks kind of medium rare, just past medium rare. And so we set the thermal probe to 125, so that way we know when the temperature of the steak, internal temperature of the steak is right about where we want it for a medium rare, medium cooked steak. Internal temperature of the steak is 75. We're going to go to 125. If you like your steaks a little more cooked, then obviously you just raise the temperature. So with that done, I've already got my oven preheated, so we're going to just pop these in the oven right now. now we wait. So let's come back to this when the steaks reach temperature. Okay, the steak has reached internal temperature, so we're going to go ahead and stop this and pull the steak out. Okay, with the steak reaching the internal temperature of 125, now we're going to pull it out and let it rest. A couple things you'll notice is that the steak is a little more plump, and it's been sweating a little bit from the cook, and so we're going to let the meat relax for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then it'll be ready to put into the pan and sear it. Okay, with the steaks rested and ready to go into the pan, next step is to heat up preferably a cast iron skillet. If you don't have cast iron, you can do this with a traditional fry pan, but cast iron will give it a little bit more even cook, and it'll also heat up better and retain the heat better, and so it'll provide a better overall even cooking experience. So we're going to heat this thing up and get it really hot, and we're going to put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of the pan and sear the steaks up. And we do this for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes on each side. Flip it over. Ooh, look at that, nice and golden brown. And we'll give it another minute and a half, 2 minutes on this side. Okay, so I just pulled it off the pan. Let's see how it came out. And there you go, perfectly cooked, edge to edge, nice and pink all the way through, nice and medium cooked. So if you wanted it medium rare, you could do it probably a little less, maybe 123. And if you wanted it a little bit more cooked, obviously, kick it up to 127, 130. And the other beautiful thing about doing a steak this way is that you get to serve it hot off the skillet. So it's a great way to prepare and cook a steak. It cooks it perfect every time and seals in a lot of juices and flavors. So that's the way we like to cook our steaks. And there you go. Bon appetit. Perfect.